Hello there! I'm Michael, known around here as Agent E, and this is a review for Batman Returns. I hate this movie. It makes so many fundamental errors in the writing that it feels much more like a child's first fanfiction than a multi-million-dollar blockbuster. But before I can get into that, let me give a quick summary of the plot. This movie jumps around a lot, so I'm going to try and keep it organized the best I can. There are three main antagonists: the Penguin, a deformed man who spent all of his life in the sewers of Gotham and is now looking for revenge.
Hey, my name is not Oswald! It's Penguin! I am not a human being! I am an animal!
Catwoman, a woman who was murdered but has arisen through the power of cats.
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
And the original character, Max Shreck, a wealthy businessman who needs a new mayor in order to build a power plant.
Give the Constitution a rest, okay? It's Christmas.
Shreck sees charisma in the Penguin and tries to make him mayor, but Batman reveals to the public how obviously evil the Penguin is. And I love this little moment where Shreck's plan is completely ruined and all he does is give this little shrug. Anyway, the true ultimate plan is revealed. The Penguin wants to kill every firstborn son in Gotham, but quickly moves on to the real ultimate plan to blow up Gotham. Batman stops this, and in the climax, all the antagonists die. However, this is the only 8th time Catwoman has died in this movie, so she escapes into the night, never to be seen again. Alright, now we can start tearing this movie to shreds. 1. This plot makes no sense. All the main characters' goals and motivations are absolute nonsense, meaning that the only reason why anything happens is because the writer needed it to. Max Shreck wants to build a power plant, but we find out it isn't actually a power plant.
About how the power plant is a power plant in name only, and since, in fact, it's going to be a big giant capacitor. And that instead of generating power, it'll sort of be sucking power from Gotham City.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. First, did he really think no one would notice? Hey Max, I couldn't help but notice that after we built your power plant, we had less power than before. Ah, well, I guess it's just a coincidence. And second, why does he even want this? Does he just want to be a jerk? And if it's about power, why doesn't he just build an actual power plant? And if this is about leaving a legacy for his precious son, why not just make him mayor? And speaking of the mayor, the Penguin was really the only candidate.
Your charisma's bigger than both of us.
This guy seriously has charisma bigger than both of them.
Reaching out to people, touching people, groping people.
And you're the hottest young person a role model could have.
Still, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood.
Your nose could be... What do you mean by that?
Your charisma's bigger than both of us.
I mean, come on with this. And the Penguin's plans aren't any better. Right after his attempt at mayor fails, he moves on to his real plan to kill every firstborn son in Gotham. We go immediately from whether a power plant would be built to biblical levels of homicide. And the movie never explains why he even wants this. His parents mistreated him, sure, but how does that translate to this kind of evil? And why does he then already have a backup plan in the form of the Penguin bombs? The bombs were already attached to the Penguins too, as if he knew this first plan would fail. The Penguin really feels like he's only as evil as the writers want him to be in that current scene. Finally, Catwoman might actually be the worst written character. When she discovers Shreck's secret power plant plan at the beginning of the movie, he throws her out of a window to her death.
You know, for a second there, you really frightened me.
But when she's revived by the power of cats, she decides that the best thing to do is create a latex catsuit and then just go back to work for the man that just killed her.
Women. Nothing surprises me, Chip.
Then she becomes the criminal Catwoman, and when she is accidentally killed by Batman, she vows revenge on him.
Batman. The thorn in both our sides. The fly in our ointment.
It's only when the Penguin kills her that she decides to take revenge on Max Shreck, the first person that killed her. It never makes any sense who Catwoman is after at any point in this movie. Just that she can't go after Shreck too soon, or the movie would be over. The writers make her motivation incomprehensible because that's the only way this movie can happen. 2. The world makes no sense. We have penguin bombs, rampaging clowns, and magic cat resurrections. Obviously, this world isn't meant to be realistic. My guess is that since this is the early days of comic book movies, Tim Burton believed that to be accurate to the source material, he could include whatever nonsensical thing he wanted. That is a problem for 2 reasons. 1. Batman is a well-loved superhero because of his grounded nature. He's not an all-powerful alien or an Amazonian legend, but just a regular guy who gives everything he has to stop the worst of humanity. Now, I do encourage directors and writers to take risks with the Batman mythos, but to do so while remembering why these characters were beloved in the first place. By making the Penguin more bird than man, or by giving Catwoman superpowers, you have made those characters less interesting. The more this world drowns in its own outlandishness, I believe the more boring it gets. 2. Your world needs to maintain its own internal logic. It doesn't make sense that the people of Gotham would find the Penguin full of charisma, or that the Penguin has access to a clown army and explosives. In the world they created, just like the characters, there is too much stupidity for it to feel real even in a comic book world. Even in fantasy, the world still needs to feel real in relation to the characters living in it. Middle-earth has plenty of fantastical elements, but it is fleshed out enough and consistent enough that I can suspend my disbelief and believe in that world. The world of Batman Returns feels much more like a compilation of sets than a place where characters could actually exist. 3. You need to earn access to complex ideas. This movie attempts to connect to complex themes and emotions simply by having a character say that's what's happening.
Odd as it may seem, Max, you and I have something in common. We're both perceived as monsters.
They're not, at all. One of them looks like the kid between a bird and a moldy mashed potato pile, and the other is the golden boy of Gotham with the eyes of an angel. This is incredibly frustrating, that a movie this dumb expects itself to be elevated by a few clever lines, even when it does nothing in the actual movie to support it.
I'm just jealous because I'm a genuine freak and you have to wear a mask.
You might be right.
But what it all comes down to is who's holding the umbrella.
If you truly want to give the audience something to think about, you need to show the parallels between characters through their actions, not just tell them. Otherwise, you only risk bringing attention to the shallowness of the piece. 4. Chekhov's gun is not a clever writing technique. Alright, this might be a very minor thing in the grand scheme of this movie, but it bothers me so much that I need to include it in the video. At the beginning of the movie, Catwoman picks up a taser. At the end of the movie, she uses that taser to kill Shreck.
How about a kiss, Santa Claus?
That isn't clever storytelling, that's simply a delayed setup. This movie would be no different had Catwoman picked up the taser right before she killed Shreck, or just stabbed him. Chekhov's gun was never meant to be a clever writing technique, but rather it's an obligation to the audience. Sure, it would be worse if the taser had never been used, but I just see no reason why the taser had to be included at all. Especially because for the payoff to work, the audience is expected to be thinking about the taser for the entire movie. 5. Death should matter. Character death is one of the most story-changing acts a writer can do. To kill a character means eliminating them from the story, that they can no longer interact with the plot or other characters. Then, the threat of death becomes just as important, as threatening to permanently eliminate a character should be taken seriously. So then tell me, why is it that a main character in this movie has the ability to come back from the dead and it's never explained? Batman adopts a stray cat at the end of the movie. When he dies, will he get cat powers? Is Selina Kyle special somehow? Or the cat special? I need to understand the bare minimum in order to know how the characters in this story die. Otherwise, you create too many plot holes. This isn't asking for that much. 6. Too many characters, not enough time. This movie was forced into juggling 4 different main characters, and dropped the ball on each. We barely got any Batman in this Batman movie, and all the other characters are so one-dimensional because of the limited screen time each one is allotted. No one character has time to develop, instead used only as an agent to make the plot move forward. 7. This is the worst Batman. That's right, I wasn't going to forget about Batman in this Batman movie. Because if you thought this garbage movie somehow did Batman justice, then I just have to applaud your optimism.
Cold. It's fishy swear, sir. It's supposed to be cold.
First, let's get the elephant out of the room. This Batman definitely kills people.
Yeah, go ahead and hit me.
The worst part is that clown's crime was just being difficult to punch. Also, there's this whole scene. I am certainly confused why that one man committing mild vandalism had to die, but I think I'm even more confused about why the Batmobile has such a feature. This is slower than just turning the car around with a steering wheel. It doesn't even look that cool. Just why? Alright, Batman kills people, like Ben Affleck, but at least Ben Affleck could take a punch.
How could you? I'm a woman.
I'm sorry, I
I haven't been fed all day.
eat floor. High fiber.
I'm sorry, was that a chair? Did Batman just get defeated by a chair? Who on earth was this movie for? Who would pay money to see Batman lose to a chair? In fact, Batman can barely fight at all in this movie. His latex batsuit is so confining that he can't really move. The stuntmen are doing their best to sell the impact of the blows, but it just isn't enough. Batman needs to be able to fight people. If he can't do that in your batsuit, then it needs to be redesigned. But the absolute worst bit is right here, where the Penguin has a hostage on a ledge. A woman's life is in danger, and Batman just does nothing. Even when the Penguin uses an umbrella filled with live bats,
Lawn dart!
which is so stupid in and of itself, Batman just slowly makes his way over. I guess a light jog would be just too much work for Batman. He needs to save energy for soup eating.
Cold. It's fishy swear, sir. It's supposed to be high fiber.
Batman in this movie isn't a superhero or even a crime fighter. He is an egotistical murderer who can barely save himself, let alone anyone else. It just isn't Batman. Batman Returns is a soulless sequel that does nearly everything wrong, creating a final product that is one of the worst written stories I've ever witnessed. I watched this movie originally because it felt like the forgotten Batman movie and I wanted to give it a chance. Now, I know why it deserves to be forgotten.